Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Jesse, CEO and co-founder of Modtub. My brother and I created the best value cold plunge to make cold water therapy accessible to the masses. Along the way, we've been gathering amazing stories from professional athletes to everyday moms and dads. The Modcast exists for us to share those stories as another way to help you build a stronger, more resilient life. Welcome to the Modcast. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Jesse with Modtub, and I'm here today with one of our early customers, John. So really excited to talk to him about cold plunging, family, just everything going on in his life. So John, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your family, kind of what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jesse. Thanks for having me. So from Ohio, grew up in Northwest Ohio. Live here with my family. Got two little ones at home. My wife and I are both grew up playing sports. My wife was actually a college athlete. I was not. Played in some intramurals, but might have pretended, not quite like her. But we've kept up with it, doing some variety of different mud runs or different events. We live a fairly active outdoor lifestyle, and so getting into cold plunging is just kind of been a continuation of that pathway, if you will, of how do we progress, how do we be healthier, be more mindful, and continue to grow both mentally and physically as human beings, within a family and within ourselves as individuals.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna take it a direction to talk about your garage gym because I know you posted a picture of that pretty early on in our Facebook group.
Yeah.
Crazy awesome setup. I see sauna, punching or kicking bags, and jiu-jitsu stuff. Maybe. I mean, what was it like getting that garage gym together, and how often do you use it? Kind of what's your routine?
Yeah, very fortunate. So it's actually in our basement. We were able to turn our basement into a gym setup. We moved into our place we're at now about 3.5, almost 4 years ago, and had an unfinished, wide open basement. And luckily, we were able to kind of cut half of it off with utilities and everything, and then turn the other half into the gym. So as you mentioned, I've always been a big fan of the sauna. So I was in saunas before cold plunges, and very fortunate enough to be able to have one of those down there. We got our, a couple of our, we got our bike and treadmill and free weights and squat rack. You mentioned the punching bag as well. And so I get down there, I do some form of movement almost every day. I still do like to go to the gym when possible. We're about 20-25 minutes outside of town. So with the little ones at home and work, it's definitely super convenient and very easy to be able to go down the basement and be able to get that workout in. But it's once again, I think it's so important both mentally and physically to be able to get that out, feel so much better, and especially so it's been, oh gosh, I don't know, a year and a half or so now with the cold plunge, the Modtub. Started with cold showers, had a little one of those little portable inflatable pop up ones outside for a while, and started doing some research. Was fortunate enough to come across Modtub and got that down there, and it's drastically improved not only the morning routine but also just the inflammation and recovery. And there's a lot of other factors I'm sure that we'll get into, but it's definitely been a huge bonus being able to add that down to the home gym down there for sure.
Yeah, it's such a cool setup, and I was looking when you bought yours was in summer of 23, so we launched February of 23. So you bought kind of like right as things were taking off, and in a pretty wild time. I think it was almost a 6 week lead time because we couldn't get tubs. I mean, it was just a lot of fun. Challenges with growth are a lot more fun than challenges with no one wants your product, but you bought in a really, really crazy season for Modtub. So, how did you find out about Modtub? Was it through a cold plunging Facebook group, or do you remember kind of how you discovered Modtub?
Being really honest with you, Jesse, I think it was a lot of, as you're fully aware, when you start doing research and, watching videos and Google searches online, you start to get a lot of different things that pop up. So I think through a lot of that, just personal research and watching videos and trying to be more educated and learn about it, there was some advertisement, some marketing that probably continue to pop up, and watching some YouTube videos and stay along those lines. So being able to do that research and then being able to visit the website and learn a little bit more about it is what led me to Modtub overall. Really looking for that full. I think one of the biggest things that attracted me that probably led me to Modtub initially was looking for that full circuit setup. So having the pump, the filter, the chiller, the cooler, the tub itself, obviously all in one, something that could fit in the space that I had that I needed it for, and then also something that was going to be simplistic enough for myself to get in there, get set up, and be able to get using without too much having to do any modifications on my own, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I love hearing that. We appreciate all our customers, but especially the ones who trusted us early. I mean, we were figuring things out, and so really appreciate you trusting us early on in the journey. What So what's your typical routine? I mean, do you typically what time of day, duration, interchange it with
Yeah.
the sauna, temperature, kind of how do you typically go about it?
Yeah, so specifically, I'd say that in my current, I'd say over the last 6 months, probably been averaging somewhere between 3 to 4 days a week with the cold plunge. Typically in the mornings, I like to get in it before I work out. So my typical routine is, once get up, get breakfast made for the kids. I'm able to go down there, get in the cold plunge. Usually get on the treadmill afterwards, so it wakes you up, gives you a lot of energy, gets the blood flowing. Then I'm able to get on the treadmill, get a workout in, lift some weights, and then typically do a sauna after my workout. I do have some weeks where I may be extra sore than others, and I have some what I refer to as just therapy days, and I will do the cold and hot contrast and go back and forth, and so I always shoot for a minimum of 2 minutes, especially in the winter months. It's still a little cold down in the basement. It's still that mental piece of it to get in there when it's cold and getting through it. But I feel like if I can get to that 2 minute threshold, I can usually go for a little bit longer. So it's always that trying to get there and get moving. And, I know it's going to be good for you and I'm going to feel so much better afterwards. You always got to have that self conversation and talking yourself to getting into it, obviously.
Yeah, that's kind of leads into the next thing I was going to ask is what do you think about when you're in the cold plunge? I mean, are you like listen to music kind of guy? Are you like a prayer meditation kind of?
Mm-hmm.
What is typically going through your mind while you're in there?
Yeah, there's some. I mean, there may be some times where if I already got some music playing, getting prepared for a workout, I'll just have the music on. There's a lot of times where it's nothing. It is more of a meditation for me, focusing on breathing. I do a lot of breathing exercises while I'm in the cold plunge, to be honest with you, and try to focus on that and becoming calmer. And as I mentioned to you, I think a lot of it is that overcoming that mental aspect of it. It's there's certain people, family, friends that they're like, "You're crazy. You're getting in this cold water. What's wrong with you?" And they think that you like it or that you enjoy it. I'm like, I don't like it or enjoy it any more than you would or you do, but I know it's good for me. I know I feel better from it. There's obvious benefits to it. But it's also just as much that mental piece of it and creating that mental fortitude and that mental strength to be able to get in there to be able to lower your heart rate, to control your breathing, and to kind of succumb to the cold as opposed to fighting it, if you will.
Yeah, man, spot on. I think you said that so well. And I was gonna ask, you maybe somewhat answered it, but would you say you cold plunge more for mental benefit, like building that grit and resilience, or more for inflammation and physical reasons, or has that changed over time?
Yeah, I'd say there's weeks that it changes, if you will. As I mentioned, I think earlier about if I have some pretty sore muscles or bones, there's definitely certain times where I get in it specifically from I got my knees are killing me from going and playing in the winter basketball league that I don't normally play in, or aspects like that I will use specific for physical or inflammation. But a lot of it, I mean, there's a lot of physical benefits. I say for me on a day to day, weekly basis, though, is more that mental resilience. It is more about that grit. Being able to calm yourself down, not have stressful moments be so stressful. As I'm sure you can relate to with little kids and family life. It's definitely has helped me be able to take deeper breaths and calm down a little bit more and realize that it's not as big of a deal as you think it is. So it's I think it's really helped a lot with that of challenging yourself to be able to decompress and be less stressed, and things aren't as overbearing as you may think they are.
Totally relate. When, like you said, I have two little kids as well, with the third on the way, and life can just get crazy. I mean, you can think the sky is falling, and through cold plunging, it is part of the practice. Definitely build that grit and resilience just to take things in stride. So, um, yeah, totally agree. Talking about kids, do your wife and kids ever cold plunge or come down there and sauna with you, or do the punching
Yeah,
bag or anything?
so the wife, my wife was a college athlete. She ran track, and she's like, man, I had to soak my legs all the time, and that was always so painful. So I think she has a little bit of that PTSD with the cold therapy, if you will, from sports, similar to how I used to feel running was a punishment. So it was, something I had to do from a sport aspect, and as I get older, I start to enjoy it a little bit more. So she will get in the cold plunge every now and then. More likely, she's going to get in the sauna. The kids come down; they're not quite old enough. They're almost they're 3.5 and 1.5. So they'll come down, they'll touch it, and then they'll tell dad how crazy and silly he is for going under the water. But I have had a handful of friends come over with their kids that are a little bit older, and they've got in it, which is really cool to see them. They get in it and they pop right out because they're, that initial shock, and they're about 6 to 8 years old, and then they get out and you can kind of see their wheels spin, and they're like, all right, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to time me this time. I want to go for at least 30 seconds. So it's cool to already see that, as you mentioned, that resilience and grit building up in their heads, even at that early of an age, and being able to expose them to it is really awesome.
Yeah, yeah. That's. I'm jealous that your wife would do it some. We're 3 years into Modtub. My wife has still never cold plunged. So, but yeah,
Well, in
my kids.
fairness, sorry, I was going to say in fairness, I want to say maybe about, I'd say a lot, you can count on one hand how many times she's been in it in, the last year and a half. So, I had her get in for my birthday. That was my birthday present. I said, "Will you get in the cold plunge for me?" She said, "That's what you want for your birthday?" I was like, "Yeah." So, those are the moments when she gets in.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll put the pressure on my next birthday. Um, but yeah, my kids will come, kind of like you said. Our kids are pretty similar in age, so they'll come and kind of like splash around and
Yeah,
see what I'm doing. And I think it's so cool, your kids getting to see you do something hard, do something intentional. It's just easy as life goes on to be less intentional, and it's really important for me, for my kids, to see me intentionally doing hard things and challenging myself. And I think that's really cool that your kids get to see that in you, and you've got to share that with some other neighborhood kids or friends' kids. So
yeah.
um, that's awesome. Tell me about the sauna. Are you an infrared guy? Are you a traditional guy? What's that look like?
Traditional. So I started pre-COVID, before everything shut down. I was the gym I was going to had a sauna in it, and I loved getting into it to warm up a little bit before workouts, and then I'd get in it for post workout, 15-20 minutes for our shower, and it was always a traditional sauna there, and then COVID hit, everything shut down, and we were looking at moving once our first kid was coming around to move into a bigger space. And that was, one of my big things. Like, man, I really would love to have a space that we could put some type of gym in and be able to put a sauna in. And like I said, we're, blessed and fortunate enough to be able to have both. And so the infrareds just don't get hot enough for me. I've been in a couple times, to be honest with you. They're great. They obviously work. But I do like the traditional sauna that can get it up to somewhere between 200 and 220, and really get a good sweat in. And I think the sauna is really, obviously the sauna and cold plunge both have a lot of physical and mental benefits to it. I think that the cold plunge is more, as we talked about, that resilience and grit, and building that mental fortitude. For me, I feel like the sauna is more of, it's great for to get in and sweat out toxins and poisons. If I'm starting to feel a little ill, I like to get in there. Definitely sleep a lot better. So I try to get in the sauna at night if I can. To be honest with you, is really when I've seen the greatest benefits to it of trying to get in about an hour before I'm going to go to bed and kind of sweat everything out, and then having that core temperature start to drop on its own. Getting ready for sleep has been really great.
Yeah, it's sauna people are funny. It's just it's a different world, you know. I feel like our cold plunges are all relatively do the same thing. You know, it makes cold water. So I think our cold plunge can satisfy, 90% of customers who are looking for a cold plunge. Sauna is a totally different world. You got, the traditional loyalists, you've got the infrared people, you've got barrel saunas, multi people, single. So it's a wild world, but the traditional ones are awesome. Do you do the steam and everything?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Get the water on the rocks and really get that those pores open and get that sweat rolling. Even throw some essential oils on there to get a nice nice aroma and get a little bit extra going in there too. But yeah, there's so many different kinds of them, and indoor, outdoor, to your point, so many different heating systems and mechanisms, and you can certainly go down rabbit holes, if you will.
Yeah. What other wellness practices, biohacking? I mean, you a supplement guy, or you anything else that you found really effective or kind of helped you in your wellness journey?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that a lot of it, as I mentioned, going through playing sports in high school, trying to stay active post college, jumping into family life. To me, the biggest thing has been consistency. I used to be that guy that I was, like, oh, if I didn't have an hour and a half to go or 2 hours to go to the gym, there's no point in doing anything. And, as I've gotten older or matured, if you will, I realized that it's 15 minutes of something is better than 0 minutes of nothing. So it's, I think consistency is the biggest thing. And I think that applies not only in wellness, but in how you feel yourself. So a big proponent of, eating as healthy and clean as you can, try to stay away from a lot of processed foods, and obviously there's a lot of different diets out there, if you will. And, I don't look at it as diet. I think it's, if, vegetables work well for you, you eat a lot of vegetables. If meats work well for you, you eat a lot of meats. If it's somewhere in between, do that. Or, if you love fruit, eat fruit, but trying to, stay away from the process, eat as clean as possible. Another thing I've really added the last couple of years, I think has really helped a lot is being better at hydrating. So I've always carried a water bottle around, always drank a lot of water. But I've certainly in the morning routine of drinking my electrolytes now, of some form of salt electrolyte drink in the morning. Outside of that, not huge, kind of your typical creatine, and every now and then, a protein drink. If I feel like I'm short on protein, it's hard to eat as much as I'd like to get as much protein in as I would like to. But I think the biggest thing, once again, is consistency. I think most people know what they should and shouldn't eat. Everyone knows that fruits and vegetables are better than cakes and cookies for you. So try to eat more of the one and less of the other. But I think, like I said, it's electrolytes, drinking a lot of water, and I think those are the biggest things. There's vitamins. I've dabbled around with the drinking greens, prebiotics, probiotics, which I think there's benefits and pros and cons to all those things. But I think the biggest thing, once again, is consistency, and finding something that works well for your body and for your lifestyle, and sticking to it. Because I think it's a lot of times I've seen people that they want to jump into the fads and they want to take some supplement for 2 weeks, and then it's like, well, I didn't see the results they want. It's like, well, it's do it for 3 to 6 months and then see how that goes. So it's that's the hardest thing in life, is staying consistent, I think.
Yeah, that's a good word. I think that, like you said, applies across the board. I mean, that applies to cold plunging, exercise, diet,
Absolutely.
all that. So I've recently, I can kind of be, especially with exercise, can really get on kicks. Like, man, I'm going to hit it hard. I'm going to get back in shape. And lately, I've been trying to just, I borrowed my brother's rower, so I just try to row 2,000 meters every morning. It
That
takes 7 or 8 minutes, but I can do that every morning and
it
row,
adds up big
cold
time.
plunge, and I just feel awesome because I've just done it really consistently. So, um,
How about yourself? Any Any additional biohacking or any inside tips that you have might have for me?
My morning routine so far for this year has been I've been pretty pumped about it. It's get the kids out the door, get them fed and everything, and off to school. But then take the dog for a walk, row 2,000 meters, sauna for 20 minutes, cold plunge for 3 to 5 minutes, and that's kind of like my typical wellness stack, if you will.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And then I I do Huel protein shakes for breakfast every morning, and then I do creatine every once in a while. But yeah, I guess that's really kind of it. Is that typical wellness stack? I've really been enjoying that.
Yeah. Has that been consistent for you you said for this year so far?
Yeah, yep. Pretty much for all of 2025, I've been do that at least 3 or 4 times a week. Um, kids have been sick some the past week, so that can interfere. But all variables the same. I do that pretty much every day.
That's awesome.
What if you could cold plunge in sauna with anybody in the world, living or dead, past, present? Is there anyone who comes to mind of like, man, this person would be
Wow.
awesome, or who's like shaped your thinking or been inspiring?
Great question. Never thought about that. I don't know. I feel like it would be someone that would be, that I'd have to think of that to have an ultra inspiring conversation with. I don't know. I guess the first person that comes to my mind would be my grandfather passed away when I was two. So I never really got to know him all that well, obviously. So I probably would. I don't know if he'd be into cold plunging and getting in the sauna, but I guess that's the first person that would come to my mind outside of trying to think, historically of folks I could really learn from.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I think you can think of famous people or celebrities, but something that's personal to you. I mean, that'd be so cool
Yeah,
to get a sauna session with your late grandfather. So appreciate you
absolutely.
sharing that. As far as how cold plunging sauna, I mean, really all your consistency and wellness practices, have you seen it affect or have you seen it have any effect on you as a parent, you as a husband, you as a worker, you overcoming any specific challenges or anything you speak to that? I mean, mainly if you can focus on parenthood, I mean, because I see it a lot in parenthood. Have you seen it help you be a better father, more patient or energetic?
Yeah, without a question. And as I mentioned, it started as consistency and workout routines, and then adding those, as you mentioned, the biohacking into it with consistency in saunas and cold plungings, and specifically the cold plunge. To me, as I said, it's so much of a mental fortitude piece of it, and being comfortable in uncomfortable situations and putting yourself in stressful situations and be able to calm yourself down, both controlling that breathing, but also both the mental aspect of it is a big thing. And obviously, with little kids running around screaming, going through the 3-year-old daughter tantrums, being able to deal with that in a way that you can really calm yourself. I think it's been super important. I will say that, on the flip side of it, it's easy to look at all the positives because there are a ton of positives in it. I think one of the flip sides of it that's been a struggle with me, to be honest with you, is that if I don't get that workout in or if I don't get in the cold plunge, still being able to stay in that positive mindset because I've realized over the last year or so, if I have this predetermined notion that all right, I'm gonna get my 7 a.m. workout in, and then life happens, and the kids wake up at 6 and it just doesn't work out, to not allow that to throw and ruin my entire day, to know that okay, well, maybe you'll get it in later or maybe you won't get it until tomorrow, but don't fully rely on that to drive your entire mental state, because I got to a point where I was allowing that to purely drive my mental state. So I think it's that healthy balance that there's obviously a ton of positives that come from it. But for me personally, recognizing that don't fully rely on that to still be able to try to drive a positive mental mentality with your family, obviously.
Man, that is preaching to me. I needed to hear that. I'm serious because I mean, like I said, my kids were sick last week, which kind of threw off the routine. I'm kind of under the weather today, so it's been. I haven't gotten the cold plunge today. I still did most of last week, but it is hard. I mean, I think my wife can immediately tell if I've cold plunged or not, kind of based on my level of patience or my
Correct.
kindness and everything. And that's a
Same.
good word that come whatever may, like life's gonna get crazy, and we've got to be the best husbands, the best fathers, the best workers that we can be, no matter what. So
Yeah.
I appreciate
Easier said than done, but it starts with self recognition, obviously, and being able to realize it.
it. Yeah, that's a good word. Appreciate that. As we're kind of nearing the end, is there anything else you want to share? I mean, it's wide open platform. Anything else
Yeah.
about your family, encouragement for others? Yeah, just anything else you'd like to share?
No, I mean, I guess yes. I really appreciate you having me on and having the discussion, and I think it's great. Thanks for starting the company and pushing. I personally know how it is with two little kids at home to be starting a business and do everything that you're doing is certainly inspirational, and kudos to you for doing that. My wife and I both work full time, but luckily we have remote hybrid positions where it's a little bit easier, and we're not necessarily running our own company. So I can imagine the daunting task that takes, and then also having a pregnant wife on top of it. But I would say I think the biggest thing is we talked about, you hit on it earlier, is for anyone, whether it's cold plunging, saunas, or working out, it's do something that scares you a little bit in life. I think I've come to realize, especially as I've gotten older, I have a lot of friends, a lot of family, or even myself at times where it's super easy to be complacent, to do what's comfortable, and you don't grow from being comfortable, you don't grow from not challenging yourself, but being able to challenge yourself and allow others to challenge you as well with an open mindset, and don't take it as an attack, but take it as an opportunity to grow. And I think that our mental and physical well-being are very, very closely attached. And to be the best versions of ourselves, to take care of our family the best that we can, we have to first take care of who we are. So I think it's super important that we keep our health and well-being and mental health in place, and doing the best of that so we can be the best fathers and husbands and sons and brothers and sisters and neighbors and good community members overall.
Amen. That's a great word. I really appreciate that. Um, Typically, I like to close things out. I always say, I hope we sell a trillion cold plunges. That'd be great. We love running the business. I get to do it with my brother. It's really fun. But at the end of the day, the fun part about it is A, I get to do it with my brother, and B, we get to interact with a lot of really cool people, and hopefully get to be a source of, play some part in their routine to help them feel better or be more present for their families. And we want to be an encouragement to everyone we get to come in contact with. So I'll just open the floor. Is there anything that I can pray for you about?
Yeah, I'd love pray for me for additional patience. I know we talked a lot about it during this conversation, but I think it's a super healthy reminder, especially with patience towards and having humility towards the family members, and once again, we're all doing what we can best for each other. But I believe you can always be more patient and more empathetic and more understanding.
For sure. All right, I'm going to say a quick prayer. Lord, thank you so much for letting me get to talk with John and just learn more about his family. I lift him up to you as well as my family, all Modtub family, just everyone who's a father who is faced with decisions every day to choose to be kind, to choose to be patient, to choose to be loving, and pray that John can make those choices daily and can love and serve his family really well. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Thanks, John. I'm going to turn off the recording, but really great talking. And yeah, we'll touch base once I turn it off.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.